What's going on, everybody? It is Julio, the Roadside Genius, and today I'm making a video showing you guys the tools that I carry and what you need to have so that you can start your very own successful roadside assistance business just like me. And if you're already in the business, maybe you can gain a thing or two by looking at the tools that I have and leveling up your game. So here we go. I've taken the liberty of already getting all the tools out of the ride and putting them all out here for you, so you can get a good idea of all the crap that we have to carry to get stuff done. So I'll start off with the easy services, which are field deliveries and lockouts. After lockouts, we'll move to jump starts, battery installs, and then tire changes. Right, so you guys have watched my videos before. I've told you guys about this can. It is nothing special, it's just a can, a gasoline can. It has a little tire valve in the back so I can open this up, and a high flow outlet, so when what gasoline comes out, it comes out pretty fast. Also carry this funnel because sometimes some cars do not allow you to pour gas in them unless you have an extended funnel like that. It needs to be about that long, and that's what I use and carry to deliver gasoline. So moving on to the locksmithing equipment. Obviously you guys are pretty familiar with what you have to use to lock out stuff, but this is a pull-up tool by Best Tools. There's all kinds of different ones. I don't have a preference on what you get, but you definitely need something that's gonna grab those the locks that stick up like that, and you grip around that, pull it up for you, and that's what this tool is used for. I carry two big easy wedges. You guys don't have to have these. Some guys just carry these bags by themselves, but if you use the bag continuously over time, you see how it starts to fray, eventually starts leaking air. So make those last long. That's what the wedges are for, to get into, to wedge those cars open so that when you use your lockout tools, you don't fray them out and ruin the bags. I carry two bags and two wedges at all times because you never know what you're gonna need them for, but there's that. Next thing I carry is this guy. You're probably wondering, well, what do you use that for? If you've ever done a lockout on a semi-truck, this is the best way to get in it and the fastest way to get in it. Instead of having to reach your rod inside the truck and pulling a doorknob or pushing a button, you can stick this guy between the windshield and the door, and usually on most semis you'll be able to unlock it by gripping onto something with that and pulling up. Finally, the last tool that I have is my lockout rod. This is nothing special, it's just a long rod that every locksmith and the mom has. So those are gas lockout equipment. Now for my jump starting equipment, I normally carry one or the other, not both, but you guys should definitely carry a JNC 1224 and a JNC 660 most of the time, and I'd say about 60% of the time. If you're doing a semi-truck jump start, these two combined will do the job. If not, I always carry cables, just because you never know, sometimes these guys die, but I never really have that happen. Another addition to jump starts that I carry is a battery tester. Sometimes you'll get out to a jump start and the car won't start, and this is how you can sell them a new battery, by testing the battery, saying, hey, you got a bad battery, or hey, your battery's fine but your alternator is not working. And these are just two different types of testers that I carry. You guys can do that as well. And miscellaneous stuff here. This keeps my jump boxes charged. Also use it to charge little lights that I carry, and also use it to charge my cell phone. I have an extension cord. I can just plug it into one of these guys, plug it in directly to my box, or use the extension cord that my box has to plug it into that. And that's how I keep those guys charged. Set this aside because battery installations are a little bit different than doing a jump start. Right, you're probably wondering why you have these here. These guys are simply battery tenders, the way you would do a battery install on some of the newer vehicles. You don't want to disconnect power from them, otherwise you'll have to reset the radio, or you'll disconnect important components that the car requires to start, and then you'll be looking at a tow to a dealership. You stick that in here and stick the other end into the cigarette lighter, and that keeps continuous power to the vehicle while you're working on it. Another thing that I carry for battery installations are the terminal protectors, and obviously a socket set to do the actual installs with. Nothing special here. So now we went over the gas can, the lockout equipment, jump starting equipment, little accessories that I carry to keep it all powered, the battery analyzer and battery testers, and stuff that I use to install batteries with. Now the rest of that is for tire changes. So you'll notice that I carry 3 different jacks. Not all the time do I carry 3, but to show you guys what's the best way to set your vehicle up, you should definitely carry at least 2. I carry a 1.5 ton. That guy there is going to do about 80% of everything you need to do. The 2-ton jack is going to do all the trucks, anything heavier that you might need to get under. And this guy is going to get under anything that guy won't get under. If somebody drops a car or whatever, that's what I like to use. Yeah, these are all from Harbor Freight. Talk smack all you want about Harbor Freight, but I love their warranties on the equipment that they sell, and that's why I buy everything from there. I also have the spare tire releasing equipment. I'm sure you guys are familiar with what those are, and if you're not, some vehicles like trucks and SUVs have tires underneath them, like Toyotas or Ford F-150s, and a lot of the times the customers lose their spare tire releasing equipment, so they don't have it. And if you don't have what they need, then you're just going to show up and not be able to help them, or you're going to have to offer them a new tire service, which isn't a bad thing, but some customers don't have money for that. So also carry a 4-way, and obviously I had these hooked up to here because once I got it in the hole to connect to the spare tire releasing, I can just turn this counterclockwise to release the spares. So I carry the spare tire releasing equipment, and I also carry a 4-way to help those going down. You don't want to hit those with the impact guns and a socket, because you might just snap the cable or break the mechanism, and you don't want to do that. Moving along here, you'll see I have 2 different guns that I use, and I've had that earthquake gun for about 4 months now. It's been working okay. I've had the Ingersoll Rand for about 2.5 years, and it works wonders. I don't really have a preference, guys. If it were up to me, honestly, I'd just buy a bunch of Ingersoll Rands. But that's the difference between a $400 gun and a $250 gun. I can drop that, break it, run over it tomorrow, and get a new one from Harbor Freight, no problem. So that's what I would use. Shout out to Sam's Roadside Service. He made this video for his account and kind of inspired me to make my own. I also learned quite a few things from the guy, so check out his channel. He'll show you guys a lot of stuff as well. For funsies, I carry gloves. Ever since I got this car, I've been trying to keep myself clean and not get dirty, so I carry gloves. You don't want to be touching stuff that's when you're already greasy and whatnot. Gloves are a great way to keep yourself from being dirty and keeping your equipment clean as well. 3 types of hammers that I carry. All right, I'll carry this guy because sometimes you need to beat back some rims into shape. That guy just for different measure in case this one happens to break or whatever, and this guy obviously to remove any unseized rims without damaging them. Where you can get those, all 3 of these are Harbor Freight, so check that out. Moving on to the sockets. So you see I have quite a few different sockets. There's supposed to be 7 different ones. Oh, there it is. 7 different ones, and this all comes in the socket set from Harbor Freight. Additional buys that you should definitely have is a spline tool. That's a spline socket. If you don't have that, get it. And I have several of those. And also another spline. A lot of trucks are coming out with this one, so if you don't carry that, you're gonna miss out on a lot of income from trucks. Get that. Also carry torque sticks. This is another inspiration from Sam's Roadside Service. When I first met him, he was like, "You don't use torque sticks?" I was like, "No." I used to run around and carry a calibrated breaker bar, which is what I used to do it with, but this is so much faster. Carry the 100-pound for small vehicles and anywhere between 140 to 160 for light trucks and stuff like that. Always carry a little air gauge to make sure that you're airing up tires to spec. And obviously, you guys know what this guy is. Little compressor from Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh. Bad thing about these guys is their fuse burns out a lot, but if you don't run your car while you're operating that, you'll give that about a whole year of life. Another thing I carry is a flathead screwdriver. That's kind of a no-brainer. You need to get into those, some trucks have caps over the lug nuts. This is how you get them out. And specialty sockets. I'm sure you guys know what these are. If you don't know what they are, some vehicles have locking lug nuts that people lose them to. They have rounded out lug nuts. Customers have tried to change the tire themselves. If you get into that situation, you'll want to carry a socket set like this, so allow you to put that right over that lug nut, give it a couple whacks with that hammer, and next thing you know, you turn it left and it comes right off. So if you don't have that, definitely get one of those. Set that back over there. Always carry some rust penetration spray to help release some of those really tight lug nuts. If you get into a situation where the lug nut's too tight, you can risk breaking it if you don't use lubrication, so make sure you use that. Also have wheel chocks. When I'm working with certain vehicles, like the other day I was working in a garage, but there was a really big angle in the road or in the driveway, and as soon as I lifted the car up from the back two wheels, the front two wheels started rolling. So I dropped it, got this bad boy, put it right there, no problem. And I also carry these wire snips. I use them maybe about 5% of the time, but sometimes you get a spare tire that won't come down after you use those tools because it's seized up. There is a way to unlock most of them with a large screwdriver or a large flathead, but if that fails, next thing you do is cut her down. And that's why I carry this guy. I did talk about this briefly, but a breaker bar is very important. Sometimes your Ingersoll Rand and your earth cake will not get the lug nuts off, and you definitely need something a little bit more power, like your muscles, to get stuff off. I carry a wire brush. Honestly, I don't use this thing very often anymore, but what I used to use it for is whenever I would work on cars that were really rusted. You want to give them a nice clean on the hub before you put it back on, otherwise the hub itself will loosen up while they're driving, and next thing you know, you have a wheel flying off, and you don't want that. Next thing I carry, or want to talk about carrying, is a set of these guys. Honestly, I don't know what they're called, or I forgot what they were called, but if you don't have these, some rims have caps on them, and you'll need these to get them off. Can't think of the name right now, but if you guys let me know what they are in the comments, that'd be great. Sure, I'll think about it 5 seconds after I put them down. And then tire plug-in equipment. So you guys have heard me talk about the T-bone, which is just made my blackjacks, just tire repair stuff. Nothing fancy, but if you ever use one of these, see how it's all crooked and whatnot. They always break. They're very fragile. See how it's starting to break right there. And some of those tires are really tough to get through. You can get this little guy. It's a slime one at AutoZone. Hasn't broken since I've owned it, but I did lose this part of it. But again, you don't really need this if you have this guy right here. And it comes with two of them. One's the reamer and the other one's the plug installer. It comes with an extra plug installer and a little tool so you can tighten and remove these guys. Also comes with some lube. And you know, if you're not carrying pliers and snips of all kinds, then are you really a roadside guy? Also have plugs, razor blades to cut off excess plug whenever I'm done plugging tires, and all kinds of little goodies here. I've used these to help pry out some objects and tires and whatnot. So that's the plug-in equipment. And over here I carry little water bottles to make sure that, hey, I've done my job correctly. If I plug something and it gets plugged completely, it won't make any bubbles. Carry that. And I have this little container that I carry as well. It's a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that I bought over the years, such as tire valve stems and little bolts and nuts, so I can, sometimes I've broken battery terminals when taking them off. I've had battery terminal replacements, and just a bunch of miscellaneous tools. I don't know why that's in there, but a bunch of miscellaneous tools that I don't really use. They're all in there, or that I maybe use once or twice. And some other must-haves that you guys should get is a little cable assortment of zip ties, some spare tires. You don't want to zip them all the way back up on cars because they might just get stuck. They're designed to have some weight pulling on them. So what you do instead is just grab a couple zip ties, zip tie that to the frame of the car, and you don't have to rewind that stuff back up without weight on it, and prevent it from getting stuck up there for your customer. Again, that one I learned from Sam's Roadside. Check him out. He's got a nice YouTube channel where he has a nice video like this one. Another thing I carry is nut and bolt assortment. Nothing crazy. It's just nuts and bolts. I learned to carry this whenever I did a few installations on batteries and I broke the bolt or broke the nut. It's nice to have some replacements. This tape, you just want to have stuff for you never know what. And that's why I carry this stuff. That's why I put everything in that bag and left it in there forever. And these are the tools, the bags that I carry all my tire changing tools in. You definitely don't want to walk around with 7 or 8 lug nuts in your hand, or lug nut sockets. The bag, you can slap them all in and you'll just walk out with your bag and your jack. And then another miscellaneous thing where I just keep everything organized. This is where I keep all my tire plugging equipment, stuff like that. Strip lug nut removers all stay here. And some worthy mentions, just because I've ran into this situation where I didn't have this little torch. I've never used it before, but I've been out on certain situations where I've really thought about having this, or I literally thought about wanting to use this, but I didn't have it. So it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And finally, strobe light. You guys are aware I have strobe lights on everything I have. Definitely get you some strobe lights, especially if you're working at night. You do not want to be a guy that got hit because you didn't have lights or weren't well lit up. And finally, some reflective equipment. Again, I hardly ever wear this stuff. Most of the time I'm working at somebody's house or in a parking lot. When I do work on highways though, I make it a point to either have this guy on, and especially if I'm working at night, I use this little light from Braun. Again, Harbor Freight. It's got light function, strobe functions, and it is bright as heck. So that is a good rundown of all the tools that I carry in my vehicle. So if you guys have interest of joining the business and starting your own service, check out this video. Make sure you have all the tools that you need to run a successful business. And if you have any questions and or want to get more business to your business, give me a phone call. We're experts at generating leads for you guys, and we can help you increase your call volume by at least 30 to 40%. So, all right, pleasure to have you guys watch this video. If you have a tool that I didn't mention that you think I should definitely have, let me know. And again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.